Sometimes you might be interested in a specific term in the expansion instead of the entire expansion. So in example 8, let's do something like this. It says find the eighth term of the binomial expansion of 2c minus 3d, that quantity raised to the 14th power. Okay, so what I would do here is I would just map it out. Okay, let's look at x plus y raised to the 14th power here. Okay, if you did the full expansion, you would have 15 terms. Remember, you would take the degree and add one. There would be 15 terms total, but we're interested in the eighth term only. Okay, so what I'm going to do is map it out. Okay, so here would be the first term, the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. Okay, yeah, I know there's 15 total, but I'm stopping at 8 because that's what I'm interested in. Okay, so I'm just going to label this first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. Okay, I'm going to start doing this like I was expanding x plus y raised to the 14th power. Okay, so the first term would have the x to the 14th, and then we just start counting down. I'm just trying to get an idea of what this eighth term looks like. Okay, so I just keep going down here. Oops, that should be a 9. All right, so here we go. It's going to have an x to the 7th in it. Okay, then I'm going to come back with my y's. Okay, so the first term won't have a y. My y's will start with the second term and then go up by a power each time. Okay, and it's looking good so far. Okay, if I add my exponents, they add to 14. Okay, now I'll deal with the binomial coefficient. Okay, so remember this, each one's going to start with 14, including the eighth term here. Okay, but remember we would going to start, the bottom number is going to start with 0 and then go up by 1 each time. Okay. All right, so this is what the eighth term is going to look like. Okay, it's going to be x to the 7th times y to the 7th with this particular binomial coefficient. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and calculate this binomial coefficient. It is going to be 14, choose 7. Okay, so that's going to be 3,432. Okay, so this is going to be 3,432. So this eighth term has, if you just did the x plus y to the 14th power, the eighth term is going to be 3,432 times x to the 7th times y to the 7th. Okay, now we've got to convert this over to the binomial we're interested in. Okay, so when you do this, okay, remember we're going to rewrite this. Okay, this is going to be 2c plus a negative 3d. Okay, if you're subtracting, you're adding a negative. Okay, so it's this quantity raised to the 14th power. Okay, now we've got to match it up. Okay, x plus y raised to the 14th, we're comparing the two. Inside the binomial, the term on the left is going to be 2c. Okay, so we're going to make the replacement that our x value is going to be 2c. Okay, then we're adding, okay, and then the y, the other term in the binomial, the term on the right, y needs to be replaced here with negative 3d. Okay, so we're going to make these replacements. Okay, so we're going to end up with 3,432. Okay, x needs to be replaced with 2c. Okay, so we're going to have 2c. That entire thing, the 2c is raised to the 7th power. Okay, and then y, we said y is negative 3d. The quantity negative 3d needs to be raised to the 7th power as well. Okay, so now we need to simplify this stuff. Okay, this is going to be 3,432. When you look at this next piece, the 2 is raised to the 7th power as well. It's the entire quantity 2c being raised to the 7th power. So this is going to be 2 to the 7th times c to the 7th times, and then when we get to the negative 3d raised to the 7th power, the negative 3 has to be raised to the 7th power, as does the D. Okay, so now we basically need to simplify the numbers here and we will be done. Okay, so I'm going to go to my calculator. I'm going to do 3,432 times 2 to the 7th times negative 3 to the 7th and see what I get. Okay, so it's going to be 3,432 times 2 to the 7th, okay, times, be careful here, you've got to raise the negative to the 7th power as well. Okay, so make sure you're telling the calculator to do that. Here is going to be the crazy coefficient. That's a huge number. Okay, so let me try to write this down. It's going to be negative, I've already forgotten what it is, 9607 40352. Okay, that's the coefficient, quite large, and then you're multiplying it by c to the 7th and then d to the 7th. Okay, this is going to be the 8th term in the expansion. Okay, all right, let's try another one of these. All right, let's look at example 9. Okay, it says find the 12th term of the binomial expansion of 2a plus b squared, that quantity raised to the 16th power. All right, so when we expand this, guys, since the outer power here is 16, there's going to be a total of 16 plus 1 or 17 terms. We're interested in the 12th term only. Okay, so again, we are going to map it out and we're going to be starting with x plus y raised to the 16th power. Okay, so I'm going to write this out to the 12th term, just kind of map it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so I'm interested in the 12th term right here. Okay, so I am going to write this out in terms of x plus y raised to the 16th power, and then I'll convert it over to the more complicated binomial. Okay, so I'll start with my x's. The first term is going to have an x to the 16th. It's going to have to go down by 1 every single time. So I'm just going to write this out. This will be x to the 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, and then the 12th term will have an x to the 5th. Okay, at this point, you know the exponents have to add up to 16, so this should be y to the 11th. Okay, you can, go back and write it out just to make sure. This first term would not have a y. You'd pick up with the y in the second term, and then you just start adding 1 to the exponent. Okay, we should end, like I said, on y to the 11th. Okay, so let's just make sure. All right, so I'm just writing here. And yes, we do. Okay. All right, so we've got that. Now we need the binomial coefficient. Okay. We know each of these guys will start with a 16 at the top. Okay, including the term that we're interested in. Okay. So now we just need to figure out the bottom number. Okay, we will start with a 0 with the first term. This would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then an 11 here. Okay, so here is our term that we're interested in right here. Okay, so let me write this out. Our term is going to be 16 choose 11, okay, times x to the 5th times y to the 11th. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and compute the binomial coefficient. Okay, if I do 16 choose 11, okay, this is my binomial coefficient, 4,368. Okay, so this is going to be 4,368. All right, this is going to be times x to the 5th times y to the 11th. Okay, so now that we've got the 8th term, of x plus y to the 16th, we can convert this over, okay? So if we compare our two binomials here, okay, we're adding inside, okay? So that's good. Everything's going to be positive. We don't have to worry about the signs. But if you, we're going to have to equate things here. So if you look at the term inside the parentheses on the left, x is going to be the same thing as 2a. So we're going to have to make that replacement. And then on the right, y needs to be the same thing as b squared. Okay, so we need to make those replacements. Okay, we're going to come down here. X needs to be 2a, y needs to be b squared. Okay, I'm just making sure that's right. And now let's do our replacing. Okay, so this is going to be 4,368. We're going to replace x with the quantity 2a. That's going to have to be raised to the 5th power. And then we're going to replace we're going to replace y with b squared. Okay, it has to be raised to the 11th power. Okay, now we need to simplify. So this is going to be 4,368. Okay, the 2a, that entire quantity is being raised to the 5th power. So we need to raise the 2 to the 5th power as well as the a to the 5th power. Okay, and then the b squared is being raised to the 11th power. Okay, so you have a power being raised to a power, you need to multiply the exponents. Okay, so this is going to be b to the 22nd power. Okay, all right, so all we need to do now is simplify the number. We need to take 4,368 and multiply by 2 to the 5th, which is 32. And we're going to get this large number, 139,776. Okay, so this is going to be 139,776. That's going to be the coefficient, okay, times a to the 5th times b to the 22nd. Okay, this is the 12th term of the expansion that we're interested in.